Asa-Punk. Asa-Punk. He's not radioactive. He's Asa-Punk in 2020. Listen, folks. What's in the closet? Well, we know what's in the closet. That's my armory. But what specifically? Won't you be my sword? Aha! Well, with this sword, my Viking sword, only because Michael Douglas's father, Kirk Douglas, passed away recently, as many of us know, and he was in one of my favorite films of all time, The Vikings. So, since he played Ragnar, first we'll start with a screenshot from the old Museum Replicas catalog that I got it out of from 1995. You can see the price there was $259. Fleshnar is a Deltin model 2105, and here we see on the Cult of Athena page, it now sells for $477.95. Of course, starting at the boring end, we have this basic leather sheath. It's not hardwood core, so we'll call it a sheath. But it's one of the windlass ones. It's very old and cracked, as you can tell by now, because I purchased this sword actually around 1995. It was one of my two first sword purchases, and the only one to still survive. Now, I've redone the leatherwork on there years later, but it is a Deltin sword. I forget the number, I think 2150. But you can see this Viking ship and sea serpents, which is my tattoo. Although my tattoo kind of bled together over the years, you can't see it as well as it was in the day. That's where it comes from. So we match. And then here we have the Viking ships in pair with another sea serpent and decoration like this snake. Now, as many know, Germanic swords of the pre-Viking age and of the Viking age usually did not have symmetrical artwork. So, when I flip it over, you will see it is not. But this is the side that's often advertised. Like when you look on Cult of Athena, the side with all these birds and such is what is showing, which I think is a shame because I think it's the less interesting of the two, you see, with the entangled birds. But it's very detailed because if you look in the recesses, it even has stuff. Faces and serpents. Even on the guard, we see, over there, bird and another bird. So, very well decorated. It's actually cast bronze from what it says. You can see the peen work there. Not super great, but certainly adequate. And nicely shaped, if you notice. Don't look at my dirty clothes there. But if you notice, the peen is kind of done almost like a pyramid shape, which is kind of cool. Okay, moving on. Now this time, again, starting with the less decorated side, we have 3 runes that I put on the blade in red paint, which are... I learned the names in Anglo-Saxon, even though it's Elder Futhark, so excuse me that these are not the Old Norse names. That's just how I learned them originally. Gaifu Ur Tyr, which I believe in Old Norse is Gibu Ur... I think it's still called Tyr. Some of the runes have slightly different names, but that, even though my tattoo's faded and I have a big scratch over right now, whoa, you can see Gaifu, Ur, and Tyr. My Ur has the top fading. These tattoos were very bright and prominent when I got them done years ago, but they definitely need to touch up in that scratch. But on the other side, we have runes spelling out the name of the sword. What is the name? F-L-E-S-H, Flesh. G-N-A-W-E-R. Gnar. The gnar of flesh. If you don't know what gnar is, if that word doesn't click with you, think of like a rat gnawing through a chain, rope or through someone's flesh. That's what it's like. Because when I first got the sword, it did like to bite people. Almost everyone who tried to touch the blade got a cut. It was okay, we see that it's set to pounds and to ounces. There it is, yes. Alright, so hold this in one hand. Grab a Fleshnar in the other. Place Fleshnar upon the scale. And we get 2 pound, 12 ounces. 12.6 ounces. Okay, magic is there. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, a 5, a 6, and a little under 7. Just about 7 inches, a little shorter, which is why it feels kind of hefty in my hand when trying the handshake grip and casting blow. Okay, so I have my tape measure out here with the end of it going to the guard, so it's about where the 1 inch starts. You can see I have a little bit of shim in there. I'll explain that in a little bit, but it's the only part of the only part of the sword that's ever loosened after all I've done with it is the guard. Got a little bit of a ping in it, but nothing super loose, just a tiny ping, so I shimmed it. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, blah, 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 down to 32 and about a half. So as you see, it fits my hand rather nicely, either in the hammer grip or the handshake grip. And as I swing it, I don't know if you'll be able to hear that. Probably can't hear it. Makes a nice swoosh. And like I said, it is kind of hefty, but the blade is quite flexible. Fairly rigid. Now, I've had this sword. I purchased it originally in, I think, 1995, possibly 96, but I'm pretty sure it was 95 at some point. And I have cut bamboo, much bamboo, small pine trees. I've hit it on thin frying pans, not really thick ones, but thin ones to test it like what it would be against a helmet or something. And it's never had a problem. Like I said, the guard got a little loose at one point where it just kind of wiggles slightly and make a little clicking. I don't know if you'll be able to see it in there, but there's a little black in there. What it is I shimmed it, but what I used to shim it, because it was a very shallow area I could put a shim in, was instead of using a wood dowel or slice of wood or something, I actually used leather lacing, like shoe lacing, jammed it down in there, and then drizzled super glue on it to harden it out, and then cleaned it up after. But you can see it stays put. And no more ping. The handle itself, I rewrapped at some point because it originally came with a braided leather that was kind of an oxblood, and I really liked it, but over the years it got loose, came off, and I didn't really want to try to re-glue it on, so I have used it for something else. But this is just basically, again, leather lacing, and then the cross leather lacing, which is also just, you can kind of see where it's shiny in places. It's because I dab super glue under it and then on top of it to harden it. So it is a little rough on the hand being that thin, but I personally like it, and it fits essentially right where my fingers go. So it really is kind of customized to me. Now, I always like the side with a ship, so I hold it out, and when you hold it out, you can see the name. On the inside is the runes. But that is my Tin Viking sword. As you got can.
There you are. Listen, folks, and good night.